Alright, the new Adepta Sororitas rules are out, the new codex, and it's a real codex, it's not just a revamp of the White Dwarf. It has some new rules which apply to everything, and there are just a few of them, so just to give them in review, just to cover it. So sisters have Acts of Faith. They had Acts of Faith in previous editions. They sort of changed it up every time. So 4th edition, 5th edition, 6th edition, the codices have approached it differently. Now, Acts of Faith can be used only once per game, per unit, unless you buy some special piece of war gear that changes it. For the most part, that's what it is. And they're done as a leadership test. So it allows you to take a leadership test and to activate the special power. If you fail it, it's done. If you pass it, it goes off. There's some things that let you re-roll this. There's some things that make it automatic, but regardless, it basically works like a psychic test. But it's not psychics. The nice thing about Acts of Faith compared to the White Dwarf Codex is that now in this edition, you can use the Act of Faith in your opponent's turn. So if you're in an assault, you get assaulted by something, and you're worried the sisters are going to die because they often die in an assault. You can use the Act of Faith to get that preferred enemy to maybe whittle down a few more. Same thing with the war hymns, which basically work like Acts of Faith, except you can use them every time, or every turn. It's a leadership test, and you can do it in your opponent's turn as well as your own. So, Acts of Faith have changed pretty much once per unit, unless you have a special piece of equipment or a certain special named character. Everything in the Sisters army has Shield of Faith. Shield of Faith is a 6+ invulnerable save, and the Adamantine Will special rule. So that's a change from the previous codex. They didn't have Adamantine Will before. Adamantine Will is great, considering it's free. It basically lets you deny 1/3 of all psychic powers. Psychic powers are quite popular in 6th edition, but Sisters have a serious leg up on almost anyone who has psychics because they have an invul save. So, if you use psychic powers on Sisters, you have to pass your psychic test, you have to hit them with most psychic powers, they get to deny the witch 1/3 of the time, and then if it does damage, they have an invul save against even the AP2 psychic powers. So, I think Sisters are pretty solid against psychics. They have a new rule called Martyrdom. This really applies to your warlords. If the warlord actually dies, not St. Celestine get back up, but actually dies, then until your next turn, everyone who's got an Act of Faith can pass that Act of Faith roll automatically. They also pass all their leadership tests. So this would apply to your war hymns also, since it's a leadership test. And that's really the rules for the Sisters.